Hey, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the author Andrew Snorton, and you're joining me for the Fast 15, as we typically do on Wednesdays. On the first and third Wednesday, we try to get up and running a little bit after 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And then on the second and fourth Wednesday, we usually do this at about 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time just because of my moving parts. So I want to thank everybody for taking time to pause for a few, check up, check in, enjoy an encouraging note, a couple of announcements, and then be able to go on your way. To stay connected with me, make sure to add me on Facebook on the page Author Andrew Snorton. On Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, make sure to add me at Author A. Snorton. And when you add me on Instagram, click on the link in the bio. That will take you to my website where you can check out the press and media, where you can pull a copy of my press and media kit, look at some of the interviews, and then you can continue to navigate through the site. And if you have any questions, whether it's for autographed copies of any of the books, information on the audio books, the Author Andrew Snorton blend, speaking engagements, things along those lines, you may email me at authorsnorton@gmail.com. So I just want to take time to say thank you, and hopefully with the start of 2023, I hope everyone's off to a pretty good start. Before we get into our piece for the day, as we always do, for people who are still going through some stuff, we know the holidays just wrapped up, but the year might not be getting off to a great start. There still might be things going on in regards to your professional lives, personal lives, health, community, things along those lines. Like, there are some negative things that are going on, and there are some people that are really dealing with some challenges. So we want to acknowledge you and send a word of encouragement out. And as we always say, if what you're going through requires professional help, there is no shame in getting that. If you have to pause and pivot and reboot, maybe change the way that you move, the way you operate, the people that you're around, as long as it's allowing you positive and constructive growth, definitely look into it. So we definitely want to send a word of encouragement out there to you. There are folks who are doing extremely well, with the new year, people who are coming through with engagements, new projects that they're working on, or they've cleared some hurdles that they were working through. We want to congratulate you. Definitely feed off the positive energy, and definitely what you've had to work through in order to get to where you are. So you have every right to celebrate responsibly, but you have every right to celebrate, and then use that as a springboard for the next thing. And as I always say, let's remind ourselves that, things can swing either direction. So we want to just make sure that we keep it in perspective and, keep it moving. So today, as you're aware, the first Wednesday of each month is where I read a selection from my library. It's a book from a favorite read, a favorite author. And I know I've got a lot of them to go through, as there's some outstanding authors out there. This one is one of my go-tos, What Black People Should Do Now, Dispatches from the Vanguard, written by the late Ralph Wiley. A number of you know he's definitely one of my favorite authors. Former writer for Sports Illustrated, former anchor for the Sports Reporters, which was on ESPN. I don't think that show is in existence anymore. And and a fellow frater, Frater, member of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. So one of the authors that I liked growing up. And I want to read this selection from the book, and the chapters on identity and purpose. And I think this is definitely timely, not only for today, but for any time. So here's the reading on that. Identity. After you establish who you are and you're safe with that, then you have to ask, what can I do with what I am? And you have to be honest with yourself. You have to find what your purpose is. Once you find it, purpose and identity will give you direction. Whatever you do and in whichever direction you go, try to do well and go well. Now, that one paragraph is a whole lot. And that's part of, I think, not only just, that's almost everybody's journey to varying degrees. Once you're honest with yourself, who you are, what your purpose is, and what your identity is, that's part of the groundwork that gives you direction into where you're going to go, what you're going to do, what you're going to do professionally, what you're going to do community wise, what you're going to do when you engage with people. And I think that's real important because there's still a number of us that are still on the journey of finding that out. And I think being on the journey is great because the journey is ongoing. It's a difference between being on the journey and taking time to discover and not knowing. And you've heard me and other people say, understand who you are and whose you are. Well, I think those are definitely key things. So again, one of the key things with identity, and this is a very powerful question, what can I do with what I am? That's very reminiscent of a quote that the late Arthur Ashe made about do what you can with what you have, where you are, things along those lines. And this is important too. Whatever you do and in whichever direction you go, try to do well and go well. And that doesn't mean not only individually doing well, but collectively. What can you do to grow, elevate? And you've heard me say this before. Leave a positive footprint wherever you go. So that's going to be our passage for today from the chapter Identity and Purpose. This is one of my favorite books that I periodically go to, What Black People Should Do Now. Dispatches from Near the Vanguard. So let's hear the grandfather clock for just a moment. Now, having had that bit of nostalgia, here's a couple of real quick announcements. Many thanks to the AJ3 report, who is going to probably have an article on me coming out in the next week or two. So many thanks. Many thanks to all the media outlets who've taken time to interview me. In regards to other media, make sure to check out Creative Community Solutions. We did an article looking at the coffee brand collaboration that we have with Fonte's Coffee. So if you're on Instagram, make sure to add A Snorton CCS. Click on the link in the bio and then go ahead and read and check it out. So shouts to our friends at Fonte's Coffee with the author Andrew Snorton blend, which is a medium roast coffee. A couple other announcements. January the 21st from 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Morrow, Georgia. Join me at Nubian Bookstore. I'll do a book signing which will feature all of my books as well as has the information on the audiobook series, The Author's Mixtape, the coffee brand, the author Andrew Snorton blend, and more. So many thanks to the ownership and team at Nubian. And this will actually, now I think about it, be my first book signing I've done in Metro Atlanta since April. I know it's like, how you live in Metro Atlanta and don't do a book signing there? Well, I've been very blessed to have opportunities in other cities. And so I'm thankful and grateful to all the bookstores, all the book festivals, all the special events, all of you awesome readers, listeners, supporters. Every time you tag, every time you share, and what have you, it really, really helps. So many, many thanks on that end. I'm trying to think if there's a couple other things that are going on. I think those are really the main things that are happening. Couple things. Later this week, I announced it in my newsletter, but later this week we'll do a post regarding the 123 campaign, and that's just to help get the social media numbers up. But for the person who ends up being the 3,000th follower on Instagram, the 2,000th follower on Facebook, the 1,000th subscriber to the email list, the 1,000th follower on Twitter, and then the 100th subscriber on YouTube, you guys will get a special thank you from me. So we're running this campaign through the end of February. We're just trying to be real aggressive with our goals, with our reach, to make sure to continue to build our audience and connect with some outstanding and amazing people doing amazing things. I already shouted out Fonte's Coffee. Thank you so much. Make sure to check them out on fontescoffee.com. And when you go to the website, go right to the bottom for the special special collections. Click on my image, and you're good to go for you to get your coffee and any of the books, which they're one of the bookstores. And of course, if you're on my mailing list, please go to the very bottom of the mailing list. We have the listing of all the bookstores and venues they're supporting, and we're definitely going to continue to add. Shouts to Status Network and Live TV. Thank you for your continued support. It's coming. I know it's been a while, but it's coming. So I want to thank you for your patience. As I said before, thank you to everybody lending support and encouragement. Last couple of things. We know there's been a lot of stuff going on in arts and entertainment with the passing of Anita Pointer, one of the founding members of the legendary R&B group, the Pointer Sisters. Actually, for my alma mater, Wake Forest University, they had them as for our Party So Dear, for our homecoming performance. So it was a privilege to get a chance to see her perform. We know in the hip hop end, the passing of Gangsta Boo. And then, of course, on Monday night, Damar Hamlin, I think, definitely gave people something to pause and think about. We pray and trust for this man's healing and recovery. We're not talking about him playing. Let's just start with the basics, with his healing and recovery. And even though it's challenging to look at this type of health issue or health tragedy, discover what this man was all about, just from what I've read, from him establishing his Chasing M's Foundation in 2020 while he was still in college at the University of Pittsburgh, and in 2021 being drafted, and having the goal of just doing a simple community give back and a goal of just raising $2,500, and the response that I think it's up to now 5 million. It's probably more than that. It speaks a lot to people's humanity. And sometimes it does take tragedy for people to get their humanity awakened. We hope that isn't always the case, but I think the big picture is there are good people out there that are showing care and compassion in the best way that they can. So whether people have donated to his nonprofit, prayed for him, put positive things out there. Remember, we feed off of energy. If you put negative energy out there, guess what? It's going to come back in some way, shape, or form. If you put positive and constructive energy out there, it's going to come back to you. So as a lot of people know, there's a saying that there's power in the tongue. So be careful what you speak and be careful what you write and what you talk. Just be careful with that. So as we get ready to wind down, as a reminder, you can stay connected with me again on Facebook on the page Author Andrew Snorton, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Author A Snorton. You may email me at authorsnorton@gmail.com. And I was about to say, just stay connected. That's the biggest thing. Stay connected, stay encouraged, stay motivated. As you've heard me say before, whether small or big, a victory is a victory. Whether slow or swift, movement is movement. Keep it victorious and keep it moving. And until next time, y'all, take very good care. See you real soon.